And now, from the Florida Today Information Center, this is the Florida Today Show. A Brevard County man is arrested after police say he punched an officer, then crashed his car into a house. The demand for cell phone towers continues to grow in Brevard County, and the possibility of sending an astronaut to an asteroid is looking even more possible. Hello, Space Coast, and welcome to the Florida Today Show. I'm Tim Walters. Today is Sunday, April 21st. We have another jam-packed show for you this week, so let's get right down to business. Last week, a 22-year-old man allegedly punched a Melbourne police officer, then crashed his sports car into a home, all before making a run for it while trying to avoid police. He has since been arrested.
A 22-year-old man who officials say punched a Melbourne officer, led police on a chase, and then crashed his sports car into a downtown Melbourne home, all before making a run for it to avoid police, was arrested early this morning. It all started around 11:30 Tuesday night when police stopped Philip Roder, who they say appeared to be intoxicated. Police say Roder became aggressive, punching officers several times before fleeing the scene. A chase ensued. Police say Roder crashed his Nissan 350Z into a Melbourne Avenue home. But it doesn't end there. Roder then fled on foot, leaving his passenger trapped inside the mangled car. He was found just before 3 a.m. Police said Roder faces charges of battery on a law enforcement officer, driving under the influence, and at least 6 other charges.
11:30, quarter to 12, heard a loud boom in the house. Didn't know if it was a tree or what. Heard sirens at the same time, and then looked out the window and seen a bunch of police officers around. And when we stepped outside, they said that they had been chasing a drunk driver, and the guy escaped and he was in the area. Realized that's what it was. The car that hit the house.
When you heard that story, what did you think?
Well, we were worried about the woman because she was in the car crying quite a bit, so we didn't know how badly hurt she was. And we were also worried about what was going to happen to the house because there's a lot of damage in the bedroom.
While the home dwellers incurred no injuries, police say Philip Roder faces several charges, including battery on a law enforcement officer, resisting arrest with violence, resisting without violence, aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, felony fleeing and eluding with serious injury, false imprisonment, domestic violence battery, and driving under the influence. Well, a new assisted living facility that will give U.S. military veterans priority and rental discounts is coming to Viera. Inventco Seniors Housing LLC, the Midlothian, Virginia-based company that specializes in veterans projects, is developing the $12 million Viera Manor Assisted Living Facility to be built off Breslay Drive, adjacent to the Veterans Administration's outpatient clinic. It's right behind Space Coast Stadium.
Viera Manor Assisted Living will be opening soon. We are honoring our veterans. We are right next to the VA clinic in Viera. From my understanding, this is the first of its kind. We are a private entity. However, we are on VA property, which makes it nice because the veterans will be nice and close to getting the health care that they need and deserve. We've made a commitment to the VA that 80% of our population will be either veterans or widows of veterans. We have 86 suites. We have 6 two-bedroom suites, 14 one-bedroom, and 66 of our efficiencies. We're hoping to open within the next couple of months. If you would like more information, you can contact us at 321-735-8850 or check us out on our website at vieramanor.com.
Viera Manor, which will house more than 100 residents, is scheduled to open sometime in the next few weeks. It will employ about 50 people. It's now time for a visit from Dr. Stephanie. Dr. Stephanie Herodopoulos contributes a column each Sunday in Florida Today's Health section. This week, Dr. Stephanie addresses a sensitive female health issue that may be more common than you think.
Welcome to Your Health with Dr. Stephanie. I'm Dr. Stephanie Herodopoulos. Today I'm discussing dysfunctional uterine bleeding, and I have with me today Dr. Carlos Salup. He's a board-certified OBGYN right here in Brevard. Welcome, Dr. Salup.
Good morning. Welcome. Thank
you.
So
this sounds scary, dysfunctional uterine bleeding, but it's so common. Tell me how often you see this in your office.
Oh, I see dysfunctional bleeding in my office a lot. We get a lot of patients on a daily basis, at least 2 or 3 a day.
Okay.
With heavy bleeding.
And at some point in a woman's life, it's pretty, that at least one time they're going to be having this type of diagnosis. Can you explain what it is?
You mean, they're going to have abnormal bleeding. It's okay if you have it once in a while, but when you have it on a regular basis, when you bleed heavily every day, or you have periods that could last you 7, 10 or more days, either very heavy or with a lot of blood clots and stuff like that, that's considered abnormal. And it's
not only during the periods, but bleeding in between periods.
Exactly,
too.
right. I always tell everybody that if their periods are greater than like 8 to 10 days, or in between periods, more than once a month, and that's considered abnormal.
So when should a person go see the doctor? If they have maybe 3 cycles in a row that have abnormal bleeding?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
If they just have one cycle, that's okay.
Sure.
It could be anything, it could be nothing. But if they have it, just like you said, and you're absolutely correct, if they have them like 3 months in a row or 3 times in a row, then they should see their gynecologist for evaluation.
So how is it diagnosed?
Well, it all depends in the patient's age. If they're 35 or older, then I always strongly recommend get an ultrasound and do a biopsy of the lining of the uterus to rule out any abnormal cells.
Sure.
Depending on their age, but it depends how bad they bleed, then yeah, you would have to do a
So
biopsy.
it's mainly a diagnosis made out of exclusion. So when you exclude all the bad things that could possibly cause the abnormal bleeding, then you're put in the category, umbrella category of dysfunctional uterine bleeding.
Right, so yeah.
So there's so many different treatments, and of course it depends on a woman's age and what you would want. So if you can just overview a few of the treatments, the most common treatments, and then we'll get into the conservative treatments, and then we'll go into more surgical.
For younger women who are having irregular bleeding and they're planning on having children in the future and stuff like that, a lot of times once we rule out everything is okay, then on young women we put them on birth control pills, and that usually
levels it out.
Levels their periods, make their periods nice and regular and stuff like that. Or you can give them what's called Depo-Provera, which is progesterone shot, and that makes their periods sometimes, it might take a few weeks for the periods to come normal, but they can get regular. And like I said, birth control pills, Depo-Provera, and that's basically.
Now, surgical procedures, there are, and you had mentioned earlier that there's a ablation.
Yes.
Which can work quite well, and this is only if a woman is not planning on having any more children.
You're absolutely correct. That's the key. If they're not having any more children, then we can be as conservative, and then do what's called the ablation. What the ablation does, it thins the lining, it decreases the bleeding significantly. You have over 80% success rate when we do the ablation. But before we do the ablation, you have to rule out abnormal cells. So you have to do the biopsy, you have to do the ultrasound. But the most important thing, like you just mentioned, that I tell my patients is you need to be 100% that you're not going to have children.
So if nothing works and someone's like, you know what, I'm fed up with this, I don't want this organ anymore.
You'd be surprised how many times I
want it out. Hysterectomy, that's it. You actually do a very interesting robotic laparoscopic hysterectomy called the Da Vinci. And you were the first one at Holmes Regional to do this.
Right.
And you've done over 300.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Can you tell us about that?
I love the procedure. It's like I've been doing laparoscopic hysterectomy since the early 90s, but the Da Vinci, the robotic machine, is just a 3D view. It's amazing the visualization that we get to see, and it's just, it's awesome. I mean, the patients, the recovery is excellent, just like laparoscopically. They're only in the hospital for like 23 hours. Send them home the next morning or stuff like that.
So you're taking a major surgery and making it a minimally invasive surgery with short downtime.
Exactly.
Amazing.
The patients are great.
Well, thank you so much
for
coming on and for your expertise and knowledge. I'm sure our viewers learned so much. So talk to your doctor if you've had irregular vaginal bleeding for 3 or more menstrual cycles, or if your symptoms are affecting your daily life. For more information on this subject and more health news, check out Your Health with Dr. Stephanie, which runs every Sunday in the Space Coast section, or visit floridatoday.com.
Well, President Barack Obama challenged NASA to send astronauts to an asteroid, and NASA says they can meet that challenge. Let's find out how.
3 years ago, President Obama was here at Kennedy Space Center and he issued NASA a challenge: send astronauts to an asteroid by 2025. Today, on that third anniversary, NASA has a fully functioning Orion spacecraft production facility up and operating here at the Kennedy Space Center, and NASA says not only can they meet the goal of sending astronauts to an asteroid by 2025, but they're up for moving up that goal 4 years to 2021.
We've made tremendous progress in our transition to the future. And now with the announcement during the budget vote last week of our plans to retrieve an asteroid and send a crew to it, we're moving forward to meet the President's challenge.
We have lots of work ahead of us on that challenging and complex mission. We have to learn how to do solar electric propulsion. We have to figure out how to detect asteroids of the size that we want to retrieve and explore. And we have to build the capabilities to get the crew to the asteroid. What you see behind us is an example of that wonderful progress that has been made by the Orion team. There's also great progress by the Space Launch System team, getting the launch vehicle ready, getting the crewed spacecraft prepared, and all the ground systems that we need to process and launch those vehicles.
I'm Todd Halverson, reporting for Florida Today.
As the need for cell phones grow, so does the demand for cell phone towers. Here's what's being done about the growing needs in unincorporated parts of Brevard County. The demand for cell phone towers is growing in Brevard County. Each city has its own rules on how many towers should be built and where they should be built. But such rules do not exist for unincorporated areas of the county. The Brevard County Commission is working toward fixing the problem, especially for areas with light coverage, such as Merritt Island.
Currently, I believe we've got 3 towers on the island. More coming. What's going to happen is that as the need for service increases, because the technology is increasing all the way up to, at some point, even being able to have television service off of towers. So we're going to see more and more of those. So the County Commission has undertaken a process to begin to identify sites that fit within the community and still serve the need that the carriers have.
Tower location has become an issue on Merritt Island. Recently, the Commission denied a request by Clearview Tower Company to build a 150-foot-tall cell tower adjacent to Merritt Island High School.
The reason we didn't approve that one was it was right off of Courtney, and it wouldn't have fit within the community. So we think there's a better location. So our new overlay will actually identify those locations. In some cases, it may be on public property, in others, it still may be private.
The site that was denied is on land owned by the Fraternal Order of Eagles. The decision is not sitting well with the Merritt Island chapter's president.
We all feel that it was kind of like discriminatory because the property here satisfies all the regulations, and we feel that the county just wants to take the revenue from us and give it to themselves by putting it on either school property or county property.
Metro PCS is one company that was looking to utilize the rejected tower, but their hopes are not completely dashed yet. Clearview Tower Company is hoping for another shot before the Commission.
We're going to try to go back to the County Commission to see if they will reconsider their vote. We actually have to do it on a motion to rescind, and I'm trying to have that done next week. If that is not successful, my client is interested in pursuing this in court.
The Commission is working toward a better process to handle cell tower requests. They'll look at the results of an overlay study, then work toward legislation from there.
First of all, help our 911 service and provide for the future of that service so that we have emergency capabilities. But it also will provide information to cities and counties so we don't over-tower ourselves, because we each have our permitting processes. This information will be shared with cities, and it means that whether it's a city or the county, we'll be able to pick the best location in our communities.
For Florida Today, I'm Tim Walters. A community college algebra teacher is fighting for her job. Here's education reporter Mackenzie Ryan with the details.
An algebra instructor at Brevard Community College is prepared to fight for her job. Associate Professor Sharon Sweet was fired by college trustees earlier this week. A college investigation found that she urged and in some cases intimidated students into signing voting pledge cards before the November election. On the cards was a promise to vote for President Barack Obama. At least that's what students said. In a 4-hour meeting, college officials determined that she broke 2 college policies. One prohibits employees from soliciting for political candidates on campus, and a second requires employees to conduct themselves professionally. Sweet said she just didn't realize that the cards advocated for President Obama. She was participating in nonpartisan voter registration on campus, and her goal was just to get students out to vote, regardless of which candidate they supported.
What I think is, I feel that students need to become well-rounded citizens. Okay? And in terms of well-rounded citizens, well, I was an honorary member of the Rotary for umpteen years, and did community service in the high school with Interact Club and all that. And I believe in service above self, which is what their motto is. And so I believe that they should be doing something other than just sitting in the classroom. Maybe it's wrong, maybe it's not. But what I ask them to do, and this is for a minimum, maybe 1% of their grade, that could affect their, bump them over from one grade to another, but most times it does not. They give what I'd say is extra effort.
Board of Trustees Chair Alan Landman, a prominent attorney in Brevard, questioned how an educated, tenured professor didn't realize that the card was partisan. A large photo of President Obama appears on the top of the card. Beneath it, a red flag says, "Pledge to vote." Sweet also repeatedly denied that she initiated political discussions in her math class or tied a student's politics to their grade. College President Jim Ritchie reminded officials of the media storm that happened after the incident. Conservative bloggers were particularly harsh. Many who saw the news questioned the college's reputation as a nonpartisan institution.
Next up, it's time for a visit from our entertainment staff. Susie Fleming-Leonard and Pam Harbaugh give us the lowdown on fun things to do this upcoming weekend.
Hi, I'm Susie Fleming-Leonard.
And I'm Pam Harbaugh.
And we're here to talk about all of the fun things that are going on the Space Coast. This weekend coming up, it's kind of one of the premier events of the Space Coast.
It sure is.
It's so much fun. The Melbourne Art Festival.
So get your flip-flops, get your bottles of water.
Get your fan.
And your fan. And if you don't come with a fan,
yes, you can stop by the Florida Today booth. Pam and I will both be there on Saturday. And I'm not sure who will be there on Sunday. We'll have people there on Sunday, though.
Yes, you can find all that out in Florida Today.
Yes. But we will be there meeting and greeting folks and just hanging out and enjoying the atmosphere.
And it's so much fun. People are really in such good moods, and they're enjoying the camaraderie, and the art is beautiful.
It is. And I say this every year. I know I say this every year, but it's kind of like going home. You go and you see people that you know and love, but that you only see once a year at the Melbourne Art Festival.
That's very, very true.
So it's a lot of fun. So that's going to be Saturday and Sunday. If you don't like art, there's going to be a lot of music too. So lots of stuff going on.
A lot.
A fun weekend thing to do. Another thing that's going on, this is a fundraiser. This is by the Rotary Club of Indy Atlantic. They've started doing this every year. The Moon, let me get the name right. Moon River Music and Magic. And this is a thing that they do in conjunction with Florida Tech.
Yes.
They have it on the Florida Tech campus. And it's like it says, it's the music and the moon, and it's just a beautiful evening.
I wonder if Sketchy is going to be playing.
I think that they are a bit sketchy.
I love watching Sketchy. I mean, where else are you going to find the president of a university playing drums in a rock and roll band?
Yes.
Along with professors and deans.
And an astronaut.
And an astronaut.
Playing the trumpet. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. They have great music, good food, and it raises money for scholarships for local students to go to Florida Tech.
So important. We really like to see this infusion of interest in Florida Tech. It's such a great institution.
And then there's also a couple of fun things going on this week for the Brevard Symphony Orchestra. Dare we talk about this? On Wednesday night, I know our friend Darcia Francie is so excited about this. It's a real departure from the usual. She says it's a departure from the usual silent auctions and
this is really
wine
outside of the box.
And it really is. But they have
Russell
Lamb, who is a female impersonator. He
Roz.
performs as Roz, and he's going to be doing a show on Wednesday at the O'Galley Yacht Club.
This has got to be probably way too much fun, and I'm definitely going to be there. Definitely. I wouldn't miss this for the world.
And Russell is he's a hairstylist.
Yes.
So he's been making women across Brevard beautiful for 30 years, I think.
And
he
himself
said.
as well.
And yes, and he says that if you're standing next to him when he's dressed as Roz, you won't know he's a man. So I can't wait. I think that'll be fun.
Well, I think it's going to be great fun. I'm really looking forward to this. And I love, well, I think I would recognize that it's a man, don't you think?
Well, I would think so, but you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
And if he says so, well, I have to believe him because we love Russell.
Yes. And this is, if that's a little too out there for you, but you still want to support the BSO, they are also having their annual wine, beer, and food festival. That's going to be April 28th at the Melbourne Auditorium. So
I think you should do both.
Yes.
And even if that's too outlandish for you, this Ross thing, I think you should do it anyway, just to keep the circulation going. That's very important.
It's good to get out of your comfort zone every now and then.
Yes, it is.
A couple of theater things that are opening next weekend. We've got Big River Huck Finn on stage at Cocoa Village Playhouse. That sounds like it's going to be a fun show.
It does.
Also, All Shook Up. This is an Elvis Presley style musical at the Henniger. That's going to be opening.
That should be a lot of fun.
It should be a lot of fun.
There's been a lot of buzz about that.
A couple of good shows. And now, Pam, last week we talked about Grease, and you were going to see Grease at...
I'm hiding from my editor, Susie Fleming Leonard, because she groaned when I mentioned Grease, and I shook her. And I said, Susie...
I didn't really, I guess I did groan. I'm just...
You said, oh, how original. Let's present Grease.
It's been done to death. It's been done to death. So, okay, what did you think of Grease? Let's hear what you thought about it. Wiki, wiki.
Oh, Grease. Well, okay, this is the thing that was really amazing about this. Riverside Theater is an equity theater, terrific productions, and it was a really good production, but because it was such a good production, it showed the weakness in this very old, I think 42-year-old script, and there's a lot of downtime. The musical numbers are terrific. I've never seen such a good hand jive, and I have seen this show everywhere, even before it hit Broadway. So,
yes, well, Pam is our theater expert, but sometimes I know what I'm talking about.
Yes, that's true.
Well, we're about out of time, so we're going to throw this back to Tim in the studio, but thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week with your entertainment update.
And speaking of entertainment, the dramatic play Night Mother continues at Surfside Playhouse. Here's a preview.
So you talked to Agnes today?
She's calling me from a payphone this week. God only knows why. She's got a perfectly good trim line at home.
Well, how is she?
Well, how's she every day, Jessie? Nuts.
Now, is she really crazy or is she just silly?
No, she's really crazy. She's probably calling me from a payphone because she's had another little fire problem at home.
Mother.
Oh, I'm serious. Agnes Fletcher has burned down every house she ever lived in. 8 fires, and she's due for a new one any day now.
No.
Wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Night Mother was written by Marcia Norman and was awarded the 1983 Pulitzer Prize for the drama.
Because no one ever got hurt. Agnes always woke everybody up as soon as she set the fire so they could watch it.
It has been a joy to work with Tori and Nadine. They have been just wonderful in their roles. No, Mama.
I'll pay attention to you. Tell you the truth when you ask me. I'll let you have your say.
No, Mama. They have captured the characters. They have captured the emotions, the ups and downs, the joys, the conflicts between mother and daughter. It's a roller coaster type of an emotional play.
Well, you can have it if you want it. When I die, you'll get it all anyway.
I'm gonna kill myself, Mama.
Very funny. Very funny.
I am.
Oh, you are not, Jessie. Don't even say such a thing.
How'd you know if I didn't say it? You want it to be a surprise? You're lying there in the bed and maybe brushing your teeth and you hear this noise down the hall?
Kill yourself.
Shoot myself. You sort of wonder who is the most courageous character in the play. Is it the mother or the daughter. But that's for the audience to find out and determine at the end. This is not suitable for children. It is a drama. It's a very emotional drama. I would bring tissues. I would not bring any small children. It's pretty much adult themed. There is no harsh language in it, but I think because of the content of the play and what's going on, that children should not be at this show.
How could I think you would understand? How could I think you'd want a manicure? We'd sit here and hold hands for an hour, and then I'd go kill myself.
Well, that'll wrap it up. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest headlines in news, space, sports, and so much more. Until then, I'm Tim Walters. I thank you for your viewership and dedication, and we'll see you next Sunday.